All right, so officially welcome again, Elaine, to the Zoom room. Glad to have you here. Thanks for the chat earlier. That was very nice, and for the feedback on the Art of Letting Go course. So we're gonna dive straight in to today's quote, and there's a mind training lesson as well. So we'll do our sort of power hour or half hour on that, and then we'll have a look at today's text reading, which is section 2 of chapter 6, entitled The Law of the Kingdom. So let me just share my screen with you. We'll have a look at today's quote and go straight into the lesson. It's just 3 paragraphs to read there. And we'll take you into a meditation on it. All right, so share my screen. Okay, so if you want to read the quote.
Let it shine, the light in you. Oh, and that's delighting me. Various colors shining through. Elated, it fills my soul with ecstasy.
Nice, poetic.
It is.
Poetic little poem, really. Poetic poem. It's a tautology. It's a poetic quote from a poem, I believe, by a lady called Claudia Antunes, who's a Brazilian author. Just found that quote when I was searching on the light. So yeah, there's one of our past sessions recording here for you if you want to have a look at that, where we there's an expression session, then we did some breath work on the power breathing technique. So if you want some more tips on that, power breathing, including through the alternate nostrils, then listen to that. You did say that you already do that in your yoga. So
I do.
Then we discussed the workbook lesson and the reading from yesterday's reading from the text, the last step as well. This is a session from a year ago with Sue and John were there, I believe. So check that out. It was a good session, if I recall. Some good stuff there, which leads us nicely into our lesson for today. So God is the light in which I see, or alternatively, if you want to read the alternative, and then go straight into paragraph 1.
Yep. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is the awareness in which I perceive truly.
Yeah, so God is the light in which I see it. It kind of changes one's perspective on what that actually means, isn't it? And you've got the translation. So it's the awareness in which, awareness of perfect love in which I perceive truly. So from that perspective of perfect love, I now can perceive everything truly rather than falsely through my separate self. So let's hear what Yeshua has to say about it. If you want to read the original sentence by sentence and then the translation below.
Okay. Today we are continuing the idea for yesterday, adding another dimension to it. You cannot see in the darkness, and you cannot make light. You can make darkness and then think you see in it, but light reflects life and is therefore an aspect of creation. Creation and darkness cannot coexist, but light and life must go together, being but different aspects of creation. The alternative. Okay. Today we are continuing the idea for yesterday, adding another dimension to it. You cannot perceive truly in limited awareness. and you cannot make pure formless awareness. You can make limited awareness and then think you perceive truly in it, but pure formless awareness reflects life and is therefore an aspect of being. Being and limited awareness cannot coexist, but pure formless awareness and life must go together, being different perspectives of being.
Okay, so thoughts about that? What's he saying there in summary?
Well, there's either one or the other, isn't there? There's lightness or darkness, and they cannot coexist. And pure formless awareness and life, they go together. Cannot. Pure, cannot.
Yeah, pure formless awareness and life are really the same. They're just different pointers to the same thing. You know, your awareness, fundamental awareness, or pure formless awareness, as we call it, is your life. Without that awareness, you would have no life, and I've capitalized life in the translated version to indicate that it's of this, higher dimension. Anything that's of God / pure formless awareness of perfect love is capitalized. As he says, it's an aspect of being. Pure formless awareness and life are aspects of being. Being and limited awareness cannot coexist together. So anything, I'm going to put the emojis there just to illustrate, fear, anxiety, anger, depression, sadness, worry. These are all forms of limited awareness or darkness that obscure our pure formless awareness. They cover it over and make us believe that that's now reality, that limited awareness is what we are, that's our reality, and our life is very limited and rather unhappy as a result. But recognizing that we are pure formless awareness or light, and that's all we are, is the answer to the ego's limited awareness. Because it simply says this isn't true. And what he's making again abundantly clear is that you must choose. You can't have both awarenesses going on in your mind and not be conflicted, because they completely contradict each other. How can I be limited and unlimited at the same time?
Of course, yeah. It's funny how we all are, well, on the course, are aware of this pure formless awareness. However, the other limited is still nagging at you, though, isn't it? It still nags at you.
Well, that's that's the undoing. It's a deep-seated program. Just to be human, we have to have limited our awareness quite severely. So it's no longer pure formless awareness. It's now very limited to put us into this very limited position we find ourselves as human beings, in a body, in a world of time and space, seemingly governed by all the laws that apply to this world. It's a very limited reality, isn't it?
So although we can choose one or the other, it still takes a bit of undoing that limited self, though, doesn't it? It takes a lot of doing.
Yeah, well, that's why he's given us a detailed mind training course like this to help us to do it, because otherwise, how do you do it? You've got to practice, train the mind to think in an entirely different way, to have a different awareness of yourself and of the world. That's quite profound, and we don't realize how entrenched our self-concept is in our awareness and in our perception. Everything you see that's seemingly external is a projection of your self-concept. Everything you see. So if you see with the ego's eyes, then everything you see, the world just reinforces the separate self concept that you have. But if you go into the spirit, then the world is about awakening from that dream. And the world shows you a transcendent dimension, because that's what's inside of you. So you perceive not as the world is, but you perceive it as you are. That's really the lesson.
Regardless of whether it's, beautiful sunshine and the lovely ocean, or just a horrible back lane with black clouds. They're both the same, are they? Both the same.
Well, it's all part of, the illusion. In practice, it's a lot easier to be happy and expanded if you at in a beautiful location with a beautiful sunset, rather than down a dark lane in the middle of an English winter or something. But but none of that really matters, because the only thing that matters is your true awareness, your pure formless awareness, which is by definition formless. The reason why we translate light into pure formless awareness is it's more descriptive of what it actually is. There's no light as such. I think a lot of people, make the mistake when a term like that is used, of thinking that, there's some kind of physical light as we perceive light here. And there isn't really. It's just an awareness, an open, spacious awareness. That's what we call the light. That's way beyond physical, the idea of any kind of physical light or darkness. So hence the translation, to point you back into that awareness and highlight that only that awareness is going to work, and limited awareness is not going to work, or darkness is not going to work. And the forms of limited awareness, darkness takes all these different forms: anger, fear, upset, frustration. Upset in any form really is darkness. It covers over your pure formless awareness, and tells your mind that there's something else. There's now another reality that's covering over, and that is of course, the covering over is the veil of illusion. I had that insight very clearly after 9 days of meditating during a Vipassana retreat, where I saw very clearly that actually the world is just a justification. Everything here is just seeming justification for the negative thoughts and emotions that the ego wants to experience. And so then it perceives that in the world. And then now you have a justification for all these negative thoughts and emotions that cover over pure formless awareness. And that's why we invented the world, is to give ourselves a justification for the ego's thoughts and emotions that then cover over our true awareness and convince us that we really are separate. We really are a false self.
So could we learn the Vipassana at home? Or do we have to go on a 10-day retreat?
It's not a complicated technique. You can practice it anyway. It's just breath watching and a body scan process. But to do it really thoroughly, I'd say the retreat's a good idea, because you really go into it deeply, and it's a detox for the mind and the body. It's 10 days of silence pretty much, and
but if you can't
hours and hours of meditation.
If you can't, then at home would be better than nothing, wouldn't it? Learning at home.
Of course, yeah.
You'll have to do one of those. You'll have to do a retreat. Yeah. I'd be interested in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if we do retreat type stuff, then
that would be.
We've got a bit more time. We could do, maybe not 12 hours a day, but do a couple of hours a day of just sitting and you just observe your breath. That's the start, and then after day four, they progress you to just observing the body and the body sensations, and that's just it's a cleaning of the mind, because you're not thinking about anything else. You just return your mind to scanning the body, so it gives your mind a focal point of just focusing on the body, and that's very restful.
Right.
For the deeper mind.
So do you still do you still do that? Do you still go to your retreats and keep it up, or?
I can't do retreats now. I'm in 10 days. 10 days.
Not with work.
10 days completely out. I couldn't run a program. It's you're not allowed any computers or phones or anything. So
okay. So
that would be challenging. No, I think, once for me was enough. I got the modality. I wanted to find out what it was. I wanted to,
Right.
really do the technique so I know it. And
Of course.
I incorporate aspects into the meditations I do. So if I say like watch the breath, you're just watching the subtle flow of air in through the
Okay.
nostrils. That's just they call it anapana. It's a breath watching. That's
Okay.
part of
So,
Vipassana. And
yeah.
then scanning the body. Sometimes I incorporate that into meditations where you just scan the body and say, okay, so just observe, what you're feeling in your neck, your shoulders, your arms, and it's just an observation. Okay, so what are
So,
the sensations going on in the body?
so do you eventually reach revelation?
Well, you can do. I had an epiphany after 9 days. It was an insight into the true nature of reality. And it was experiential. I think that's the beauty of it. It brings you an experience.
Not
It's
words.
not
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah.
Not words. Yeah, it was way beyond words. It was really that's actually where the words came afterwards. After that experience, the pure formless awareness name for God, pure formless awareness, and then I added in perfect love a bit later because I couldn't really describe it in any other way. What I experienced was just pure formless awareness. That came to me. I'm like, well, that's a good description. That's as good a description as any of that state of mind
Yes, but
that I entered for. I don't know. I can't say how long it was. Could have been 30 seconds. It could have been 5 minutes. I don't think it wasn't hours. It was a
but it's
fairly
just
short time. But
wasn't on the
there's no
scale.
time. The
No,
body,
yeah.
awareness of the body disappears, and I was just in this awareness where with no thought for a short time, however long it was, and it was very blissful. And
Yeah.
then very immediately after I came out of it, then the Holy Spirit interpreted the experience and really said to me, yeah, this is what you've done. You have covered over this light, this awareness, with all kinds of rubbish, all the rubbish in the world. That's just a projection of an insane mind. And all that is about is justifying the thoughts and emotions that make up this ego self, the separate self. The world is just a justification of those thoughts and emotions. And that's the veil. Then I was like, oh, I get it. Like it was almost like the whole course downloaded. Okay, I get it. I get what he means because I've had an experience that's shown that to me. That this is just a veil of illusion. It's a cover over this awareness, which I accessed for that short time. And it was very, very beautiful, very peaceful, very blissful. But there wasn't much to say about it. It just is. It's a state of
It's
being.
because Sally discusses how there's aha moments, and those are just moments when you get it, but it's still not a revelation, is it? Aha moments and can't be compared to this revelation experience.
Well, it wasn't almost a combination because I had I guess it was a revelatory experience where I went into just pure awareness. There was no other thought. I wasn't aware of the body or the room or anything. My eyes were closed. Right. And for a time, I was just in pure formless awareness, no thought, but I was aware. I wasn't asleep, and it was beautiful. It was just so pristine. It's like
wonderful, yeah.
Yeah. And then afterwards, the insight came. The Holy Spirit interpreted. Once I came back into more thinking awareness, it was like download, sudden download. It was almost like the whole course just dropped. And I was like, okay, I get it now. I really, it's not just a theory. I really feel that experientially. I know it because I've had this experience. And that really, I think, was the catalyst for this work. Because very soon after, a week later, I started the first Art of Letting Go course with Sue and John and a couple of other people from the UK and Kim. And that was really the course that kickstarted this whole process because I ran the course as I wanted to. It was a group of 5, so it was smaller than this one, but it was a proper course, and that then started this ball rolling. From Sue and John, then Sally came, and then via Sally. You came via her friend Jackie, and so.
Yeah.
Would it have happened if I hadn't had the experience? I don't know. Interesting. One doesn't know, but for me, it was a catalyst to take this work to another level, definitely. And that insight was key. I probably wouldn't be teaching as I am now. But this is pure formless awareness, perfect love. If I hadn't had that experience, because you can't really teach what you haven't experienced. So it was very, very helpful. Yeah, so I'd recommend, if you can make 10 days, I'd recommend doing it, because it's the hours and hours of meditation that really do the trick. I almost certainly, if I'd done an hour or two a day, I wouldn't have had that mystic experience.
The same. Right.
No,
really
it's the time you spend. The environment they create, the time you spend, you're away from everything else, away from distractions, silence. It all creates an opportunity for a shift to happen. It's a good opportunity for some kind of revelation or shift to happen, as it happened for me. On the last day, it was like, okay, so everything was preparation for that experience. And I had another, actually, it wasn't a revelation, it was a vision a couple of hours before that in the meditation hall. I actually had a hand. Suddenly I just saw a hand coming out of nowhere, and it had this big kind of golden white light orb, and it just put it in my heart chakra. It was like, oh, and I felt it. It was like, wow, that was interesting. So that's called a vision, because it was visual, and I felt it. And then that was almost, a couple of hours later, I have an experience of pure formless awareness, almost preparing me for that, revelation. So it was quite a profound day, and that happened on the last day, which probably wouldn't have happened if I hadn't done the 12 hours of meditation a day for the preceding 8 days.
I've heard many good reports about these 10-day Vipassana. Many people
I can recommend it.
Yeah, no, I've heard some good, and also there's been one or two that have done a runner, because possibly because they're addicted to cigarettes or whatever. So they're on the runner.
Yeah. This was, in fact, in our course, I don't think anyone left, which is quite good. But often people get a couple of days in, they go, no, it's too much for me. I can't take the 12 hours. It's quite, you have to have a bit of endurance, because you're sitting and it's uncomfortable. Sitting for that long gets quite uncomfortable.
So if you've got addictions, that's going to be even more trying. That's obviously the ones that do the runner. Yeah,
sometimes. Well, they just can't handle the silence, and mind's too busy, and they need some kind of stimulation, because they just cut all that out. There's no external stimulation at all. It's just you're just sitting in your meditation, and they say don't do any other practices. So I just went with it. I was like, I'm not going to do any Course in Miracles or anything else. No affirmations, no course lessons. I'm just going to do this 10 days.
Did you ever feel like doing a runner? Did you have it? Because everybody says
no, not really. No, I was like, I've done a lot of meditation before.
Right.
I did. They didn't allow you to exercise, which I found bizarre.
Yeah.
You couldn't go for a run or have a. So I just made a plan when everyone was at breakfast. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do half an hour quickly and do some hill sprints, and just got a bit of a sweat. And I did yoga. I did yoga, and if I ran something to stretch, because they didn't do any formal stretching. You've got all this sitting to actually, have at least an hour a day where you said, okay, we're going to stretch out. But they don't. They very, they keep the modality. They go, it's just Vipassana, and that's it.
Right.
I would mix it up a bit and say, okay, well, let's put in some yoga.
Yeah, no, I would
put in some yoga as well, and maybe do it outdoors as well, because they said only indoors. Why not do an outdoor?
Yeah, so I would go for that way. I wouldn't go for the one where it's 12 hours doing just that. No, that wouldn't be for me.
Well, it's good mind training, there's no doubt.
Very good. Yeah, no, I think in my lifetime I'll do the one where you're doing the exercises. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll structure something, do it in Tenerife.
Yes.
Everyone come and have a combination, like a week. You could do the
swim,
do all the processes we did. You could
Yeah,
do all the processes we did in the Art of Letting Go course, and then also
definitely.
do a lot of meditation, and maybe some swimming with dolphins. I used to do dolphin retreats in
Yeah.
Mozambique, in
Oh,
Southern Africa, which was lovely. It definitely gave
wow.
people just another experience.
That's
You're
a
swimming with
luxury.
these live creatures, and
Yeah, no,
so
that's bliss itself. Yeah, that's
mm,
bliss.
so let's put something together.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to move on to number 2?
Yeah.
If you read number 2.
In order to see, you must recognize that light is within, not without. You do not see outside yourself, nor is the equipment for seeing outside you. An essential part of this equipment is the light that makes seeing possible. It is with you always, making vision possible in every circumstance.
Okay, and then you want to read
The
alternative.
Yep. In order to perceive truly, you must recognize that pure formless awareness is within you, not without. You do not perceive outside yourself, nor is the equipment for true perception outside you. An essential part of this equipment is the pure formless awareness that makes true perception possible. It is with you always, making vision possible in every circumstance.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, as you were saying, it's all within and it's not without, and it's always there in every single circumstance. So with a
It's your
well-trained,
fundamental awareness. See, it's
Mm.
your base nature. It's the ground of being,
yeah,
without which there would be no life, no awareness. It must always be there. It's the very foundation of who you are. And that makes true perception possible in every circumstance. If you can access that awareness, that's the if you can access it, because it's covered over, it's buried in most people's minds,
yeah,
under a heavy cloud of dark, insane thoughts
yes,
that the ego's produced. And so you have to penetrate through that layer. And that's why it's all about, letting go
yeah.
and
Could you
clearing that.
sorry to interrupt, I've just got 2 seconds.
Okay. No problem. I'll carry on the chat. So you're saying an essential part of this equipment is the pure formless awareness that makes true perception possible. So saying really we see with our minds. We're seeing with this awareness. Seeing, the original is seeing. I translate as perception or perceive. We're actually perceiving with our minds. It's not our body's eyes that are actually seeing. Yeah, there have actually been people, there are people who can see, close their eyes, and they can see the entire room.
Oh,
I
yes,
chatted to one guy once, and he said, yeah, I had this experience. We're doing a lot of meditation. I think he'd done some ayahuasca or something. And he was meditating in his room, and he said it was freaky because he closed his eyes and he could see the room as though his eyes weren't closed. And he was like, whoa, how's this possible? So he's seeing with his mind. Actually, we see with our minds.
Yeah.
And then there's an illusion that we light comes in through these instruments called the eyes and hits the retina, and then a signal, and all of that is part of the elaborate illusion that the ego's invented to convince us that there really is an external world and we really are a separate self living in that world, when in fact we're not. The whole thing's just a hallucination.
Yeah.
A very convincing one, but these lessons are about undoing that, starting to question that. So,
Well, they're beginning to read. Yeah, it was just on the news. I saw 2 children that have big blind things on, and they could draw things. They could show them a picture, and they could draw exactly what that picture was with the big blind. So it's now coming into the forefront. Yeah.
So what is seeing then? You're seeing with your mind. Even with your mind, not with your body's eyes. So this is what he's saying. The equipment is not outside of you. It's not in the body. The equipment is in your mind. You just have to recognize it. Recognize that awareness is always there. It's the light in which you see, as the lesson says. So, yeah, just one more paragraph and then it goes into
Yeah.
practice. So if you read that.
Today, we are going to attempt to reach that light. For this purpose, we will use a form of exercise which has been suggested before and which we will utilize increasingly. It is a particularly difficult form for the undisciplined mind and represents a major goal of mind training. It requires precisely what the untrained mind lacks. Yet this training must be accomplished if you are to see. And the alternative, today, we are going to attempt to reach this pure formless awareness. For this purpose, we will use a form of exercise which has been suggested before and which we will utilize increasingly. It is a particularly difficult form for the undisciplined mind and represents a major goal of mind training. It requires precisely what the untrained mind lacks. Yet this training must be accomplished if you are to perceive truly.
So he's just giving us some instruction on how to meditate. Really, this is the start of meditation, and it's a particular meditation style of going within, going into the light within you. So then, if you read the slide, thank you for sending these, by the way. They're great.
The word light here is key. We know that we need light to see. No one can see in total darkness, yet external light doesn't illuminate what things mean, what things are. To really see, we need the light of God within. Thankfully, that light is always inside us. We just need to contact it so we can see. And then there's a little man with a shovel.
I quite like the illustrations. So in the dark, and then the light that symbolizes the light of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Or true awareness shining on whatever it is that's being perceived in this world. And then just the little bit below.
Yeah. We have spent our whole lives in the dark. In meditation, we are trying to find the light switch. As Jesus says, the training must be accomplished if you are to see.
So this is mind training in how to change our mind, how to go into another awareness, how to access this pure formless awareness, so that we can perceive truly. It's from that perspective of pure formless awareness, everything is different. We don't see the same world. We don't see ourselves the same. We don't see anyone or anything else the same as we did before. So it's a transformation of perception based on a transformation of self. So the self-concept and the perception go hand in hand. As showed you this very briefly, the Holy Trinity idea is that we have the Father, the source, which is pure formless awareness, that streams into the mind and is interpreted as the true self or the Christ, which is your higher self, which then can perceive the illusions of this world, all the people, things, places, events, circumstances, situations, traumas, successes, failures, and all experiences that seem to exist and happen in the physical universe of time and space, can now perceive those correctly. So now you have true perception, which is what this lesson's all about. The light in which I see. And what he means by see is that you perceive it truly. He's not talking about physical vision, physical sight. You perceive it truly with Christ's vision. Christ's vision being the vision or perception of your true self. And that perception is miraculous. When you do that shift from the ego to the spirit, then there's a miracle, which is also called forgiveness, which is also called letting go. that puts you into a flow state of surrender. That's also been called acceptance and salvation, or one-ment, or enlightenment, or awakening. So it's all really just different words pointing to the same thing: the transformation of the self-concept, and therefore of your perception of everything and everyone. And that's what this course is designed to do, to orchestrate that transformation of mind and perception. So if you feel like you're getting it all wrong and you find it difficult and challenging, that's not the case. That's actually all going right. You're just training your mind, and you're coming up against some of the fixed beliefs and ideas that exist in this red box, interpreted by the ego. Remember, just wants you to stay there, stay stuck in the red box, and never transcend it, never go into the true self, the Christ in you, and never, ever access perfect love, pure form of awareness of perfect love, because that's the end of the ego. So that's the Holy Spirit. That's just an operating system that allows you to access pure formless awareness in the while you're still living in the world. And then there's a down and inward meditation, which I'll guide you through. So shall we do that now?
Yeah. I'll mute.
Okay. So let's shall we? Okay, so just making yourself comfortable. Just sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight. Cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clenching the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Just drawing the energy up the spine. Into the crown of your head. Feel this warm wave of energy rising up. Spine into the crown of your head. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Maximal inhale breath. Breathe in again. Scan your mind now. Just observe whatever's going on there. And try and sink below it. If there's any thoughts about the world, emotions that go along with it, maybe body sensations, just observe all of that. And just sink beneath it. Remind yourself of today's lesson that God, or pure forms of awareness, perfect love, prefer, is the light or the awareness in which I see, in which I perceive truly. So pure formless awareness is the awareness in which I perceive truly. Say that. And just let these thoughts and emotions dissolve. Blow them away with the breeze of your growth. Blow it all out. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest here. Find a sense of peace and stillness arising in you. Just sinking inwards. Nothing really to do with this. Well, there's no particular technique. Just sink inwards. Allow your mind to go deeper. Breathing in and out through your nose, just to keep the mind focused on something other than thoughts. So focus on the breath instead of any thoughts or emotions. And just let yourself sink inwards. Leave behind everything that you now believe, all the thoughts that you made up. Properly speaking, says Yeshua, this is the release from hell. But perceived through the ego's eyes, the separate self's perspective is that it's a loss of identity and a descent into hell. But if you can stand aside from the ego, you can stand aside from the ego or separate self by ever so little. I have no difficulty in recognizing its opposition, its fears are meaningless. It's just attached to itself and all of its negative thoughts and emotions that make up this self-concept. It doesn't want to let go of these because it's identified with them. It gives it a sense of identity, meaning, and purpose. But all of it is false. So you may want to remind yourself every now and then, from time to time, that to reach pure formless awareness, these thoughts that your ego likes to bring up, and the mind chatter, irrelevant thoughts, pretty much any thought. Thoughts of God are just spacious awareness, peaceful, spacious awareness. You're not thinking about any subject and object at all. Just allow yourself to sink into that awareness. And the breath take you there. So breathing in and out through your nostrils. Just deepen into the state with each breath, going deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper with each breath into this calm, quiet, peaceful state of mind. If any thoughts come up, seemingly disturb that awareness, this pure formless awareness of perfect love, let's breathe in again. Breathe in this awareness. If it helps, you can imagine breathing light in. Beautiful golden or white light. If you don't visualize well, it's fine. Just feel an awareness arising. Spacious, empty, open, clear awareness. Imagine you breathing that in, either the light or this awareness into going into the light. So dropping all resistance to it, all blocks, those thoughts. So just blow out any resistance, any negativity, any dark clouds that obscure this light. They're going, gone. Pull the low stomach into the spine. Squeeze the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. And sink inwards, a bit deeper, just blowing out any dark clouds, any negativity, blow it away with the breeze of your breath, the nothingness that it really is, and sink in for another minute or two of deep silence into the light. Try to sink into your mind, letting go of every kind of interference and intrusion, quietly sinking past them. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just surrender into this light, this pure formless awareness of perfect love within you. For another couple of minutes of deep silence. And so just gently coming back, bring some of your awareness back into the body and the breath, senses and the world. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises as you breathe in. Notice the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench your sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. Draw the energy up the spine to your heart center. Putting one hand on the heart, connecting with your heart space. And drawing it all the way up into the crown of your head. So at the top of the inhale, scan your mind again one more time. Look for any thoughts, emotions, body sensations. It's particularly happening, and just whatever it is, let it go. Just think beyond those. Just exhale as you're blowing that thought and emotion out like black smoke out of the mouth. So you blow it all out. Exhale, notice how the air flows out. Chest and the stomach suck back in. Energy subsides back down from the crown of your head, your lower stomach and your groin. Feel the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling and touching with your hands. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, smell in your nose. Notice that. Notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Noticing all these things from this very still, calm, and surrendered state of mind. So you want to anchor this state in to your awareness for the rest of the afternoon, the rest of the session. Set that intention. And now on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So just look around for a minute, so observing whatever's going on from the state of awareness. Your formless awareness is always there. So it's your underlying fundamental awareness, without which you would have no other awareness. So you look around at various objects in the room around you, just observe with that awareness. No judgment. You don't have to judge, name, label, interpret anything. Just perceive with pure awareness. That means very little thought, no interpretation. And notice how peaceful it is when everything just rests in that awareness. It's like your fundamental perception, fundamental awareness. And this is what Yesha is pointing us to. This kind of awareness is the kind of seeing he's talking about. This is true perception that really perceives correctly, with this awareness not obscure. This awareness is it's shining through. Light. Oh, just on cue. John has just arrived. So that brings us to the end of the meditation. We'll move into our text reading now. Okay, so let's just get that going. Click. Sorry, the dog is just going crazy about something. Hi, John.
Hi, John. Hi, Elaine. Again.
You again?
Hi, John.
Yeah, just sent. That was perfect timing. Just finished the meditation.
Okay, perfect.
Popped in, yeah, perfect
I'm
time.
a bit sort of bleary. Yeah.
So we'll go into the text reading.
So
Let me just get that going for you. Thanks so much for that testimonial earlier. That was great.
that's good. It's good. I'll put you.
Okay, so this one today is called the
Law of the Kingdom.
Law of the Kingdom. Yeah, correct. 7 paragraphs. I've got a hard stop at 3:30. I have family duties which I can't miss. So
Okay.
we've got about an hour and 50 minutes. We'll see how we go. See if we can get as much done as possible.
Yeah.
Try and speed things along. So the kingdom. Okay. So this is section 2 of chapter 7. Just get the first paragraph in here. On my screen again. Let me just do a quick place. So that saves a lot of time. Create, extend, place all. So any thoughts on it, John? You said have you read it already?
Yeah, I read it. Yeah, I've read it actually, and I think it's kind of elaborating on stuff we've done before.
Mm.
But it's kind of introducing this idea of sickness actually, and it's interesting. The first paragraph I think gets it in the terms of, if we see someone as sick, we're actually contributing to separation.
Mm. Yeah, okay, well, let's get into it. Just getting all ready. So, I'll just share my screen. Okay, so okay. Do you want to kick it off for us, John?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, just read the original.
Yeah.
And then yeah.
To heal
And
is the
version.
to heal is the only kind of thinking in this world that resembles the thought of God. And because of the elements they share, can easily transfer to it. So alternatively, to heal is the only kind of thinking in this world that resembles the thought of pure fullness awareness of perfect love. And because of the elements they share, can transfer easily to it.
Hmm. So do we want to keep thought of God, or should we make it just resembles the pure formless awareness, perfect love? I think that's clearer.
Yeah.
Because thought of God is actually, it's not capital thought. It's not really thought in the way we think of thought, not subject-object thought.
No.
It's more of a pure formless awareness, the thought of God, the pure formless awareness of perfect love. It resembles the only kind of thinking in this world. It resembles the pure formless awareness of perfect love. You can even take off that. So healing is an effect of this awareness coming in to our awareness in this world.
Yes.
Because of the elements they share, can transfer easily to it. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. It's saying there's shared elements. Healing comes from this awareness and can be transferred into this domain, to time and space, and have miraculous effects, healing effects, when we access this awareness.
Okay, number 2. When a brother perceives himself as sick, he is perceiving himself as not whole and therefore in need. So when a person,
Well, we normally translate it as companion.
Yeah, companion, yeah. When a companion perceives himself as sick, he is perceiving himself as not whole and therefore in need.
Or we could say when anyone perceives himself as sick.
Or themselves as sick.
Yeah. When anyone perceives himself as sick, he is perceived, you know, when anyone perceives themselves. Is that okay? It avoids the, anyone
does.
perceives himself as sick.
Perceives themselves.
They are perceiving, perceives themselves as sick. They are perceiving, perceives themselves. I don't know. What do you think? We did this a couple of times. Jackie kind of said it's okay to make it more general.
Yeah, okay.
When anyone perceives themselves as sick, they are perceiving themselves as not whole. It avoids the gender issue, which I quite like.
Yeah.
Perceiving themselves as not whole and therefore in need.
When anyone perceives themselves as sick, they are perceiving themselves as not whole and therefore in need. Okay. Number 3. If you too see him this way, you are seeing him as if he were absent from the kingdom or separated from it, thus making the kingdom itself obscure to both of you.
Yeah, translated.
If you too perceive them this way, you are seeing them as if they were absent from the kingdom or separated from it, thus making the state of pure formless awareness itself obscure to both of you, to all.
Yeah, so you're perceiving them. They were absent from the kingdom. And the kingdom is the state of.
Yeah.
Absent from the state of pure formless awareness or separated from it. So making this state itself would need to be capitalized, I think.
Do you need itself, making this state obscure to both of you?
Yeah, I don't think we do. Making the state obscure.
Or making the state? Perhaps.
Had the absent from the state of, or separated from it, so making this state, because then it refers to the refers to the previous part of the sentence. I think that's. We'll read it again just to make sure we're good. The sickness and separation, number 4.
Sickness and separation are not of God, but the kingdom is. So sickness and separation are not of pure formless awareness of perfect love, but the state is. The state of awareness is.
Sickness and separation, or not of, maybe we could say do not come from. come from pure formless awareness, perfect love, but state of so state of pure formless awareness is.
Is it is or does?
Maybe we should just say, let's just take that out. Do not come from perfect love, but the state of pure formless awareness is. Do not come from, but the state of pure formless awareness does. So that state of pure formless awareness and perfect love are really one. When you're in perfect love, in that awareness, that is pure formless awareness. That's why we call it pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Yeah.
Okay, number 5.
If you obscure the kingdom, you are perceiving what is not of God. So if you obscure the state of formless awareness, you are perceiving what is not of pure formless awareness of perfect love.
So if you obscure this state, you are perceiving what is not. We need to just what does not from perfect love. Okay, so that's number 1 done. Let's summarize it briefly. So what is he saying in here?
He is saying that if we perceive, well, it's saying that if someone perceives themselves as ill, they are obscuring and denying the state of perfect love. If we see them as ill or suffering, we contribute to the idea that they are separate as held by them and indeed ourselves.
So we confirm to ourselves that they must be then separate from the state, and in doing that, we confirm that we are separate from that state.
Yeah.
So this is the evidence, the proof that the ego gives us, proof that separation is real, and that's why it's so invested in sickness, because it makes the separation seem to be very real to us. So we obscure, the state of pure formless awareness, then obviously we're perceiving what doesn't come from the state and from perfect love. We make up an illusion. We perceive that instead. Okay. So summary done. Shall we personalize this? Okay, so to heal is the only kind of thinking in this world. Resembles pure formless words of perfect love. Because of the elements that they share, can transfer easily to it. Okay, that's okay. We can leave that.
So when I perceive someone as sick,
When I perceive myself.
Yes.
You two, but no, I guess that needs to be someone else. Because when I look at the content, if you two perceive them this way, it's someone else.
Yeah.
When I perceive, when anyone perceives themselves as sick, they're perceiving themselves as not whole. And therefore in need. Okay.
If I too perceive them this way, I am perceiving them as if they were absent from the state of pure formless awareness or separated from it, so making this state obscure to both of us.
I also perceive them this way. Absent from, they were separated from it. Okay, we can keep that. So making the state obscure to both of us.
Sickness and separation do not come from perfect love, but the state of pure formless awareness does. If I obscure this state, I am perceiving what does not come from perfect love.
Okay. So read that from the top. Just make sure we're good with it, and then we'll do our little personalized recording.
To heal is the only kind of thinking in this world that resembles pure formless awareness of perfect love. And because of the elements they share, can transfer easily to it. And anyone
make it easily is it easier to say easily transfer?
Yeah, I seem to want to do that every time I come to it.
And easily transfer, yeah.
Easily transfer. When anyone perceives themselves as sick, they are perceiving themselves as not whole and therefore in need. If I also perceive them this way, I am perceiving them as if they were absent from the state of pure formless awareness or separated from it, so making this state obscure to both of us. Sickness and separation do not come from perfect love, but the state of pure formless awareness does. If I obscure this state, I am perceiving what does not come from perfect love.
Okay, happy with that?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so let's all right, so just Elaine, close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in, connect with the breath, breathe in and out. And you're just going to allow these words to drop into that space you've created in your mind and repeat after John what he reads and the gaps that he leaves. Okay, so take it away, John.
To heal is the only kind of thinking in this world that resembles pure formless awareness of perfect love. And because of the elements they share, can easily transfer to it. When anyone perceives themselves as sick, they are perceiving themselves as not whole. And therefore in need. If I also perceive them this way, I am perceiving them as if they were absent from the state of pure formless awareness, or separated from it. So making this state obscure to both of us. Sickness and separation do not come from perfect love. But the state of pure formless awareness does. If I obscure this state, I am perceiving what does not come from perfect love.
There it is. Okay, paragraph 1 done. Well done. That was quite quick, actually. But
Yep.
just be able to get through the other 6 in an hour and a half. Remember
Yep.
that?
Oh, yeah.
Miracles do happen. So let's just get the next one. So it's all right. Okay, so I think this one's for you, Elaine. You can read. Just do it sentence by sentence, read the original and then the alternative down below.
Okay. To heal then is to correct perception in your brother and yourself by sharing the Holy Spirit with him. To heal then is to correct perception in your brother or companion and yourself by sharing the remembrance of perfect love with him. or it. No, not it.
Say companions of them.
Yeah. Okay, and then to the top. Any changes? Right, next one. This places you both within the kingdom and restores its wholeness to your mind. And then this places you both within this, the state of, kingdom is the state.
The
State of perfect love.
says the state of pure formless awareness.
Yeah. State of pure formless awareness.
Where were we? That was here. I'm just going to tab across here. Do a little replace. Word is marvelous. Tool when you could just place. Kingdom. Place it was. $11 replacements, so that's useful. Done.
Yeah.
So it's made it capital. I still don't know what's done that, but never mind. Yeah. So, those within the state of pure formless awareness. And restores its wholeness in your mind.
Oh, just a second.
Okay, this reflects extension. Creation is extension. Unifies by increasing and integrates by extending. We call that unifies and integrates by extending.
Could I just be 10 minutes? I'm sorry. I've got to go and do a quick emergency. I'll be back in 15.
Yeah. Okay. No problem.
15
carry
minutes.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll carry on without you. So, John, if you want to take over.
Yeah.
And number 3, I think. This reflects creation.
This reflects creation because it unifies by increasing and integrates by extending. This reflects extension because it unifies and integrates by extending.
Yeah. I took out the increasing because we've sort of the idea that increase implies some kind of change.
Yeah.
And extending it is not quite as much of a time space concept. Unifies and integrates by extending. Okay. So that's okay. So number 4.
What you project or extend is real for you. What you project or extend is real for you.
Yeah. So
This-
projection, remember the projection is the ego. Always he's using that ego sense of the separate self.
Yeah.
Projecting out.
Yeah.
And the extending is of the Holy Spirit. It's coming from your right mind. It's an extension of love. So they both seem to go out from you into the world, but they're very different sources, very different thought systems.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
mind.
This is an immutable law of the mind in this world, as well as in the state of pure formless awareness.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Immutable means unchangeable. We want to change immutable. Immutable, it's not the most common word to use.
No.
Just see, immutable. Meaning unchanging over time, unable to be changed. You know, so unchanging. I think would be some unchanging.
Or is it changeless? This is a changeless law.
The changeless law of the mind, or an unchanging. What do you think's better? Unchanging, I think. Unchanging.
Okay.
Work. Unchanging law of the mind in this world, as well as in the state of pure formless awareness. Okay, so that's all right. I think we'll keep mind there.
Yeah.
Law of awareness. But I think law of the mind in this world works in that context. Number 6.
However, the content is different in this world because the thoughts it governs are very different from the thoughts in the state of pure formless awareness.
Okay. And that's well because thoughts, small thoughts, it governs are very different from the capital thoughts in the state of pure formless awareness. Yeah, so we keep we'll keep thoughts there. There's capital thoughts. He's making a distinction between the different kinds of thought. So that could be useful.
Yeah.
People. Okay, number 7.
Laws must be adapted to circumstances if they are to maintain order.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's okay. Number 8. The outstanding.
So does he mean by order? Does he mean consistency? It's adapted to circumstances if they are to maintain order. What does he mean to maintain the order that the laws are meant to enforce?
I think it's the order that the laws are meant to enforce.
Okay. To maintain order. maintain the order they were designed to maintain, I suppose, but that's a bit okay. I think let's leave it as order.
The outstanding characteristic of the laws of mind as they operate in this world is that by obeying them, and I assure you that you must obey them, you can arrive at diametrically opposed results.
I think I'm going to change, just going back here. They maintain the order they were designed, or they were intended to uphold.
Yes, that's nice.
Well, then it's just clarified.
It does.
So you can have a law, and it's not theory, it's got to be applied in practice.
Yeah.
Which, as any lawyer will tell you, is why they have a job. Because it's not theory, it's how does it actually apply in practice. Founding characteristic of laws of mind, okay. So you must obey them. You can arrive at diametrically opposed results. You can cut that bit out in the summary, because the laws diametrically. Just want to translate that maybe, I don't know, diametrically, meaning diametrically opposed, reference to opposition, completely and directly. So it's used specifically in this context of diametrically opposed viewpoints. Do you think we leave it?
I think so.
Diametrically opposed results. This is because
the laws have been adapted to the circumstances of this world, in which diametrically opposed outcomes seem possible because you can respond to two conflicting voices.
okay.
Yeah.
So what is he saying in brief summary of this? Should get the right one here. It's that one. Okay, so what's he saying in summary of this? Paragraph 2.
It's saying that to help our brothers heal, we must see them as whole and perfect. Because by so doing, we are assisting the whole process. Well, assisting with we are contributing to pure formless awareness, or the extension of pure formless awareness.
Yeah. Anything else? What else is he saying here?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what he's on about with these laws, really.
Yeah, so that's the he's talking about the laws of mind and saying that you project or extend. So you're going to be coming from the ego or the Holy Spirit, whether you project or extend. And depending on which one you listen to, which voice you listen to, you can come to diametrically opposed outcomes.
Yeah, right.
Impossible, because you can respond to two conflicting voices.
Mm.
So the mind must extend or project. That's inevitable in this world. So you're going to see the results of your thinking one way or another. It's going to be either the projections of the ego or the extensions of the Holy Spirit. And depending on which voice you listen to, you'll have diametrically opposed outcomes that you'll see in the exterior world. If you remember, integral model, external level is a reflection of the internal. So because the mind is split, we can get apparently diametrically opposed outcomes and conflict in this world, because there's seemingly two minds and two thought systems in operation, which is why there's so much conflict in this world. Okay, I think that's a decent enough summary. Happy with that?
Yep.
Okay, so let's personalize this.
To heal, then, is to correct perception in your companions and yourself by sharing the remembrance of perfect love.
In my companions,
My companions.
and myself, by sharing the remembrance of perfect love with them.
This places me both within the state of pure formless awareness and restores its wholeness in my mind.
Places us both in the state of pure formless awareness, maybe just in. This places us both How about this? Helps. Helps us both enter How about that? Enter the state of pure formless awareness. I think that's better.
Good. Yeah.
Places us both.
This helps us both enter the state of pure formless awareness and restores its wholeness in our minds, or my mind. My mind. This reflects extension because it unifies and integrates by extending. What I project or extend is real for me. This is an unchanging law of the mind in this world, as well as in the state of pure formless awareness.
Something like that. Put my mind.
However, the content is different in this world because the thoughts it governs are very different from the thoughts in the state of pure formless awareness. Laws must be adapted to circumstances if they are to maintain the order they were intended to uphold. The outstanding characteristic of the laws of mind as they operate in this world is that by obeying them, and I assure you that you must obey them, and Jeshua assures us that we must obey them, that I must obey them, that we must obey them.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we just cut them out.
Yeah,
I think we don't need that.
yeah. In this world, it is by
Operate in
obeying
this world is by obeying them. I can
arrive.
diametrically opposed results.
Is it I can or I would or I will arrive?
No, I think I can.
Yeah.
Can is present tense. I can arrive at diametrically opposed results.
This is because the laws have been adapted to the circumstances of this world, in which diametrically opposed outcomes seem possible because I can respond to two conflicting voices.
Okay, I'm going to read that. Sure. Happy with that?
To heal is to correct perception in my companions and myself by sharing the remembrance of perfect love with them. This helps us both enter the state of pure formless awareness and restores its wholeness in my mind. This
we should make it my companions. Helps us all.
Yes.
Rather than both. Helps us all to enter. It's good to do these checks, isn't it? Because you just pick up these little inconsistencies. Okay. So it helps us all. I think that's quite significant. This is saying, you know, you're helping just by doing this, helping everyone to heal and restores its wholeness in my mind.
Yes.
And its wholeness should be capitalized, really, shouldn't it? Its wholeness.
Oh, yes.
Because we have Holy Spirit it's talking about. Correct. And myself, by sharing the remembrance of perfect love with them, this helps us all to enter the state of pure formless awareness. Restores its, referring to the state, which is capitalized, so that should be capitalized as well. So just correct it up here as well. Restores. I can see why they missed a whole lot of caps, because this editing process is, imagine, you know, editing this for the first time. It's been quite hectic. Okay, so carry on. This reflects extension.
This reflects extension because it unifies and integrates by extending. What I project or extend is real for me. This is an unchanging law of my mind in this world, as well as in the state of pure formless awareness. However, the content is different in this world because the thoughts it governs are very different from the thoughts in the state of pure formless awareness. Laws must be adapted to circumstances if they are to maintain the order they were intended to uphold. The outstanding characteristic of the laws of mind as they operate in this world is that by obeying them, I can arrive at diametrically opposed results. This is because the laws have been adapted to the circumstances of this world, in which diametrically opposed outcomes seem possible because I can respond to two conflicting voices.
Yeah, okay. Happy with that? Happy to read that?
Yeah.
It's good. So yeah, it's going to be this one, I think. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so if you like, if you prefer, I'll read it to you, because then you can do it. I'm not sure Elaine's with us. So would you like me to read it?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so just take a nice deep breath in. and out. Close your eyes and just let these get into a nice rhythm with that breathing. Keep breathing in and out through your nose and let these words flow in. And repeat them aloud after me in the gaps I leave. So to heal is to correct perception in my companions and myself. By sharing the remembrance of perfect love with them. This helps us all to enter the state of pure formless awareness and restores its wholeness in my mind. This reflects extension because it unifies and integrates by extending. What I project or extend is real for me. This is an unchanging law of my mind in this world, as well as in the state of pure formless awareness. However, the content is different in this world because the thoughts it governs are very different from the thoughts in the state of pure formless awareness. Laws must be adapted to circumstances if they are to maintain the order they were intended to uphold. The outstanding characteristic of the laws of mind as they operate in this world is that by obeying them, I can arrive at diametrically opposed results. This is because the laws have been adapted to the circumstances of this world, in which diametrically opposed outcomes seem possible. Because I can respond to two conflicting voices. And so it is.
How might we see this in a practical way, Jono? So we go to visit a friend or a relative in hospital, at home.
Mm-hmm.
In this worldly sense, they are ill, maybe dying.
Mm-hmm.
How do we apply these principles of seeing them as whole? Right, to try and answer my own question.
Yeah, give it a go.
I guess, well, what it means to me is that we need to hold these ideas in the back of our mind whilst we are in the presence of the other and not in their presence even. So as we can hold the idea in our minds that they are perfect and whole, we will in some way then respond differently to them, which will help them. Curiously.
Yeah. Yeah, because the mind is joined.
Yeah. So they are going to find our presence uplifting because we are coming from that place.
Yeah. We remind them of the truth about themselves. So we're not buying into the sickness. That doesn't mean you should say, well, you're not really sick. You should just get up and walk out. And, of course, in Miracles, people have been known to say those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So, some sensitivity, but it's really about a correction in the mind. It's how you perceive that person, and then that attitude and perception reflects in your words, in your actions, in your behavior, in just your energy. They feel, there's a sort of a loving presence that emanates, and that can help them to find it in themselves. Maybe they don't heal, but they just feel comforted. They feel, better for your presence. Could be as simple as that.
And for example, they might say, oh, dear John, I've just had the news, I'm dying.
Yeah.
And that will present a challenge.
Yeah, well, you could then go into conversation about death if they're open
to
it. Yeah. You could bring them a lot of comfort and say, well, I believe, you say it, obviously sensitively. If you like to have a chat about that, I've been studying a spiritual teaching that goes into some detail about this. And the person might say, yeah, I'd love to talk about that. If they're not open, then, obviously you don't go there. But say, well, there's no death. This teaching is saying there's no death. We are immortal, immortal beings, and
it's a delicate. It is a delicate subject, because I get that a bit at work as well. That maybe their wife is in palliative care, and you can see they're really very, very upset. So it is, like John said, it's really just keeping that ego quiet and just bringing that love there. Because I had it yesterday, and I thought, well, I can't. He just wasn't open to this kind of course, so I just kept sort of quiet and was waiting for the sort of quiet in me. But it is a very delicate subject, isn't it? Because some people,
for a lot of people, they don't really want to face death, although it's self-evident that everyone's going to die.
Yes,
when it comes upon us, we act surprised. It's interesting, isn't it? How something that happens so repetitively. I think Yeshua says that at some point. He says, surely, why are you surprised? And something happens so frequently, and why are you surprised that this kind of thing happens? Death, sickness, suffering. These are really a regular, normal part of so-called life in this world.
Yes.
Why we're surprised when it comes into our experience? We shouldn't be. It's going to happen, inevitably.
He didn't look surprised. He just was, obviously I just had to show, just a loving sort of kindness there, but without giving my opinion. Yeah, so it is. It has to come from the, as you say,
I think it's
the center, from the loving kindness. It has to come from there, because if it comes from the ego, they'll sense that you've got the fear as well. So it is delicate.
Yeah, and then you behave appropriately. You say something or you don't say something. For that person, you'd said, well, there's no order of difficulty in miracles. She could heal if she changed her mind, or you could just not be concerned about it. There's no need to worry because she's not really dying. She's just an immortal being. She's going home. It's not necessarily appropriate. It's true.
No. Some people, but
is it helpful? I think that's always the question. You've got to say, is this helpful for this person, given their state of consciousness at that time? Would it be helpful to say this? And the Holy Spirit will guide you accordingly. So no, it's not really helpful. Actually, it's better just to be kind and loving and don't go into any of the metaphysics.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if they are open and there's an opening, an openness to hear something, then maybe you share some of these ideas.
Yeah.
And you can't say, it depends, totally context specific. It's really what would be truly helpful. That's the prayer of the miracle worker, which is the prayer that I share every day. So if you read this prayer, it should open you up. It's gone. Let me just pull it up again. Gmail does that from time to time. So it's down here in the helpfulness prayer every day. There we go. So I put it down here. I'd recommend reading it every day because it just sets the intention for loving kindness, but in a truly helpful way.
Yeah.
So my aim is to be truly helpful.
Oh yeah.
Only to be truly helpful.
I do like that one.
Here to represent. Do you want to read it?
Yeah. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent the pure formless awareness of perfect love within me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because this awareness will direct me. I am content to be wherever it wishes, knowing it goes with me. I will be healed as I let it teach me to heal. Yeah. That's
a great prayer to ask for guidance as to how to be truly helpful.
Before you
if
go
you've
into work.
kind of programmed yourself like that every day, hopefully in situations that are like that, where let's say there's a sickness, there's a imminent death, you know how to respond truly helpfully in a loving, kind way that's really helpful for that person, and not unhelpful. I'll give you an example. I mean, we did a healing once, a friend of mine and I, on this guy was holotropic breathing, and just the two of us. And afterwards, he was quite emotional and he wanted to talk. So I just sat with him. I kind of held his hand because he was a bit shaky, and I just let him speak. And I just listened and said a few things for maybe 5-10 minutes. And that was, I felt, truly helpful. She was busy doing some ceremony, some prayer to the Holy Spirit, because she was into that kind of thing in tongues. She said she sang in tongues. And then afterwards, she was really frosty towards me. I said, Janice, what's wrong? And she said, I want to speak. And eventually I got it out of her. No, I disrespected the Holy Spirit because she was giving a prayer of thanks to the Holy Spirit for, its help and guidance. And I was disrespecting that by just chatting to the guy. He was speaking. But she misunderstood what the Holy Spirit is. She didn't have a clear understanding. She wasn't studying A Course in Miracles. She was on another spiritual path. And then I realized, I can't work with her. There's no way, because we have a different understanding of what it actually is. The Holy Spirit in that instance was saying to me, there's a person in need here. He's just had quite a serious, obviously challenging experience in the holotropic breathing. He's crying. He wants to connect with another human being. So just sit with him and be there, for him. A prayer to the Holy Spirit is totally inappropriate. As Yeshua says at some point, the Holy Spirit or God has no ego to accept your thanks. It doesn't have an ego. It doesn't need your thanks and your praise and all of that. That's all just her own ego. That was her own ego actually seeking self-glorification. Because by saying the prayer, she was like, oh, well, I'm connected to the Holy Spirit, and she got to do a special thing, which was the singing in tongues, whatever it was. It sounded like gibberish to me, but for her, it's just like 5 ancient languages. Well, who knows? She was singing something that no one could understand, but I think she just made it up. So it came from a different perspective. She wasn't being truly helpful.
Right.
in my view, in that instance. To be truly helpful was to connect with the person, let him speak. That's the Holy Spirit in action in between the two people.
Coming
But
from the
it made me realize that without the clear understanding, if someone's on another path, then often their understanding is very different, and you can't work with them because you have different understanding, especially if you're doing healing like that. So I never worked with her again. So okay, we're not going to do that again.
No.
Because
that
your
wouldn't
understanding
resonate.
is different. So we're coming from
Yeah.
different perspectives. Now, how's that going to work if the two of you are supposed to be
Yeah.
working in unison? You're going to have a split, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing would repeat itself because I'm coming from a different perspective to her. The two voices, as he said, respond to two conflicting voices. So that's an example of how the two conflicting voices can play out in a situation that was a healing situation, and there were two conflicting ways of dealing with it, of behaving towards that person. And the one was correct. I believe what I did was correct because it was what he needed in that moment, rather than what she thought. She was in her ego and in her mind going,
yeah, no, that wouldn't resonate with me either. That certainly wouldn't
ceremony,
resonate.
and it didn't really mean anything to him. He wasn't interested. He just wanted to connect with another person and say, this is my experience, and
There's kindness and
she couldn't see my point of view. I was like, well, if you can't see that, you're blind. I was just being kind in the moment. You were singing some song to some non-existent entity because the Holy Spirit doesn't exist.
Would be irritating.
It's an entity. You see it. You see how this understanding is so helpful because it's a memory in my mind and in the other person's mind. That's all it is. It's a memory of a deeper awareness. It doesn't need praise and songs and all of that stuff that so many religions have gone into. It's just a direct connection between two people on that, coming from that awareness, and that's what's truly healing. So that's our job, is just to listen to that authentic voice, and then you'll get the guidance appropriately in every situation. It'll tell you what you need to do, or say, or not do and say. Okay, so can we move on to number 3? Elaine, will you read this one for us?
Yep.
Just read it line by line. So outside the kingdom, and then go do the translation.
Right. Outside the kingdom, the law that prevails inside is adapted to what you project, you believe. And outside the state of pure formless awareness, the law that prevails inside is adapted to what you project, you believe.
Project.
No, project.
Yeah.
You believe.
Project. So to understand the difference between projection and extension. Projection is coming from the split mind, the separate self, that projects out its beliefs. And then that seems to be the reality that creates in the world. And so then as you project it out, it comes back to you in the form of people, events, circumstances that seem to confirm that the belief which projected them out is true. So it's a closed loop until you start to do this kind of mind training. You go, well, actually, it's my beliefs that are the problem. It's not the external world. It's my beliefs that are now coming back to me. I'm seeing them in the mirror that the world presents. And they now come back to me, and now I believe what I've projected. That's the setup of the ego. That's why it's so difficult to escape from this thought system, because it seems to be real. Because the beliefs that we have, the false beliefs, now seem to be true and real because they seem to have real effect. That's the illusion. So it takes a lot of mind training to get out of that projection perception mechanism and say, no, that's not the case. Actually, the only resolution of any problem is always the source of whatever I'm experiencing. Okay?
Yeah. This.
So number 2.
Number 2. This is its teaching form, because outside the kingdom, learning is essential. This is its teaching form, because outside the state of pure formless awareness, learning is essential. Let's just change that.
Okay. So happy with
3.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. 3. This form implies that you will learn what you are from what you have projected onto others and therefore believe they are. 3. This form implies that you will learn what you are from what you have projected onto others and therefore believe they are.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I think so.
You project your own beliefs onto others. You see in them, perceive in them what's actually in your mind. And then you believe that that's what they are. So you project your guilt, let's say, onto someone. You perceive them as sinful, evil, someone who's
Annoying.
maybe attacked you or hurt you. You perceive them as that because you projected your own guilt out onto them. And therefore you must believe that they are sinful, guilty, evil, because that's your projection.
Okay.
So we don't see reality. We just see what we want to see. We perceive whatever is in our minds projected out, but it's happening so subtly and subconsciously that most people are not aware of it. It seems to be happening externally, doesn't it? Someone did this to me. That's the illusion. No, actually, they did it to me because I have a subconscious belief in, let's say, victimization. I feel like I'm a victim. So then they attack me. Now I feel unfairly treated. I feel resentful. Now my resentment and my anger is justified, and I can project my guilt onto them. So you're the guilty one. You hurt me. You've unfairly treated me. It's your fault that I'm unhappy. You see? And now I must believe that what is actually within me is outside of me, and that the problem is external.
Yeah, I almost get it. I mean, if you see somebody behaving silly in a supermarket, so is that my mind projecting that silly person? Well, so I
always, yeah. If it comes into your experience and then you're triggered by it, this is really the key. So the person could behave that way. If you're enlightened, it's not going to bother you. You just see love. You just, that their behavior doesn't affect my perception of it. But if it triggers you and you start going, what a silly person, how dare they do that? That's just so inconsiderate. And they got the whole story going. You know how the mind goes.
Yeah.
Then that's part of your own self-concept. You're projecting condemnation onto them. And the ego loves doing that, because as it projects guilt onto someone, it's seemingly getting rid of it, saying, I'm not the guilty one now. I'm off the hook. God's not going to destroy me. God's going to destroy you. You're the guilty one. And we love doing that. So that's why the ego loves guilt and blame. Accusation, blame, attack, complaint. These are the forms of the projection of guilt. It loves that, because it seemingly gets it off the hook. It says, you can have your special identity, but now the guilt is someone else's. So they get it. They're the ones who are going to be crucified, punished for their sin. And so we feel temporarily a little bit better when we offload our guilt like that. But the problem is, it's very temporary, because the more you do that, the more you're reinforcing that I must be guilty. I can't keep giving something and not have it myself. So we actually just reinforce the guilt in our own minds the more we do that. Which is why accusation, blame, complaint, attack never work. They'll never make you happy, because the more you do it, the more you've got to keep doing it to offload the guilt, and the guilt just gets worse and worse. And if you keep doing it, we know people who are very attacking in their minds usually get sick. They attack themselves. So then it gets internalized.
Would it be fair to say that every judgment we make is based on some form of projection?
Yeah, if it's egoic, I mean, remember, the only judgment the Holy Spirit's making is this is not true. This is not real. That's the only judgment. distinguish between levels of truth and untruth, of untruth, of illusion. It just says this isn't true. So that's the only judgment it makes. It's not true. Therefore, don't believe in any of it. The ego, on the other hand, likes to be specific. No, this is true. This person's really done this, and they're guilty of this, and it gets into all the specifics and all the drama around that. That's all ego. It's a projection. The extension of love would be, I let this go. I let go of all of that because I recognize that it's all untrue. And so the only logical thing is to let it go, because I'm just believing in what's not true.
So if we see somebody physically bullying somebody else, then that presents us with a problem, doesn't it? Because it's an illusion. It's not happening, but yet in this world it is.
Seemingly, yeah. So what do you do?
So what do we do?
Well, you correct your mind. You find that centered, peaceful, calm state, and then you go from there. And then you're guided to respond appropriately. So that may be to step in and defend them, to try and help them escape. That may be just a word. I'll give you a great example. This actually happened, apparently. It's a story from an Aikido master. So when he was just learning Aikido, Aikido is the martial art where you don't use force. It's just you use the attack as force. But he was still very much in the mindset of, well, I want to use this Aikido on someone. And so he said, because he had that desire, what came about was he was on a train in Tokyo, and this big kind of brutish laborer guy came in, and he was drunk. He'd been drinking sake, and he was pissed out of his mind, and he's really being difficult, and he's threatening to attack people on the train. And so he's like, right, perfect. My Aikido comes in, and he's about to go and take the guy on, and then this old man who's sitting there just starts chatting. He says, oh, how's the day been, or some random remark. And he starts engaging this guy in conversation. And he just watches this, and he watches the guy talk him down. So he's in this like sucky rage, and he talks the guy down to the point where he's got his head in his lap, and he's crying, and he's softly stroking his head, this big brutish oak. And then he realized what Aikido really is. He said, that was the best lesson I ever had. Because that old man didn't have to lift a finger. He didn't have to use the martial art. He just did it with his mind. And he was guided by the Holy Spirit to engage in that and talk the guy down into a state where he was like putty in his hands. And then he was like, okay, I really, perfect lesson for him. He understood then the essence of his martial art. Before that, he didn't. He still thought it was about attack and defense. It's actually about that, not having to use it. That's the whole point of martial art. You never have to use it because you've trained your mind to the point where you can do exactly what that guy did. So the old man just saw beyond the illusion of the threat, and he saw that there was a cry for love there in that laborer. And so he's very skillfully, using his words, engaged him in a conversation and brought him into a state where all of the rage went, and the guy was actually really sad because I think he'd lost his wife and no one loved him, and then he was comforting him. And that's the Holy Spirit in action, isn't it? So in that instance, he was guided to, it would have been the wrong thing for the guy to confront him. There was a better way, and that's what unfolded to show him. And so in every instance, you'll be guided in miraculous ways that you can't know up front. It's just in the moment. You'll follow the guidance. Yeshua had many tricky instances in his life, and it's recorded, the one, with the adulteress. I think I've told this story before. So they bring this adulteress to him, having caught her in the act. How they did that, the mind boggles. But anyway, this is what the Sanhedrin obviously did in those days. Go like spying on people. So they catch her in the act. They haul her in front of them. All right, great. We're going to set a trap for this guy. And they say, what do you say? Teacher, what do you say she's caught in act of adultery. The law of Moses said she should be stoned to death. What do you say? So they're hoping you'll say, no, the law's wrong. And they'll say, well, you blaspheme, you've denied the law of Moses. You now need to be stoned to death. But he knew exactly what to say. He paused. He kind of scribbled something in the sand. He probably just giving himself time, I'm guessing. It was like, okay, let's just pause, reflect, get into the right state of mind, ask for guidance. And then he says one line. He just says, let he who has never sinned cast the first stone, in Aramaic, some version of that. Everyone just dispersed. Even the Sanhedrin were like, well, what can we say to that? Okay, everyone drops their rocks and they walk away. So that was the Holy Spirit's, answer to the situation. In that instance, no violence necessary, just a very wise sentence. And so, yeah, it can happen in many ways. But if you're in that state of awareness, then you'll be guided. And this mind training is training us to get into that awareness. Okay, so where were we? In the kingdom, number 4, yeah. In the kingdom.
In the kingdom, there is no teaching or learning because there is no belief. In the state of pure formless awareness, there is no teaching or learning because there is no belief.
Yeah. So no belief. You're not believing in anything because in that state, you know the truth. You don't believe the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there. You know it already. Yeah.
Number 5.
5. There is only certainty, and the same. There is only certainty.
Yeah, number 6.
6. God and his sons, in the surety of being, know that what you extend, you are. And 6. Pure formless awareness of perfect love and his sons, in the surety of being, know that what you extend, you are.
Well, that's extensions, yeah?
Yeah.
Surety of being. I think let's make that a capital.
Yeah.
Know that what you extend, you are. Does that need a comma? What you extend. Know that what you extend.
In the surety of being, know what you extend, you are.
How about, no, to tell you what we're doing, just change it. Know that you are what you extend. Much better.
Yeah.
Know that you are what you extend.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 7.
7. That form of the law is not adapted at all, being the law of creation. And pure formless awareness of perfect love and its extensions in the surety of being, know that you are what you extend.
Yeah, we just did that one. So that form of the law is not adapted at all.
Yeah.
In the law of extension.
Yeah, so that form of the law is not adapted at all, being the law of extension.
You are what you extend. Yeah. So you whatever you extend out, that's a reflection of what you are inside. You extend what you are. As you project what you think you are. Project what you think you are, you extend what you really are. Those are the distinctions between extension and projection. Okay, so pure formless awareness.
Pure formless awareness of perfect love itself extends the law by creating by it.
Unity itself extends the law by
extending.
by it. Lots of extension, but it doesn't make sense. It extends the law by extending by it.
Yeah.
So it extends by this law of extension. So as it is, in other words, as pure formless awareness of perfect love is, it extends itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then that law of extension is being extended in that way. Okay, number 9.
And his sons, who extend like it, follow it gladly, knowing that the increase of the state of pure formless awareness depends on it, just as their own creation did.
Okay. And its extensions, you extend like it.
Follow it gladly, knowing that the increase of the state of pure formless awareness depends on it, just as their
Let's
own.
change increase to extension. Extension of the state of pure formless awareness depends on it, just as their own. Just as their own extension did. Okay, so what is he saying here in summary?
Yeah, well, it's, well, pure formless awareness.
Hang on, let me just stop recording. Sorry about that. It's this one. It's just, there we go. Okay. So what is he saying? Summary.
Well, teaching outside the state of pure formless awareness, learning is essential. There's a lot of extending, isn't there? Projecting and extending, projecting onto others.
Well, what you project, you believe. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that you've said it. Yeah, you've summarized it.
What you project, you believe.
Yeah.
And so you learn what you are from what you projected onto others.
Yeah, that's it. You've done it in one there. And there's a lot of extending in this paragraph, isn't there?
Yeah. But in the state of pure formless awareness, there's no teaching or learning because there's no belief. There's only the certainty of knowledge, of being.
Yeah.
So then he contrasted the surety of being, know that you are what you extend. Okay? So that's the alternative to projection. Instead of projecting what you believe, which is false, you extend what you know you are. And it has a very different quality. If you're extending your true being, your love, then you are inspired. And there's a very different quality to the kind of outcomes that come from that kind of extension. So compare at the extremes of it, Yeshua, the kind of life he lived, the kind of outcomes he had on impact he had on the world, compared with, let's say, someone who was totally projecting all the time. Let's say Hitler or something, projecting his anger onto the world all the time. Look at the difference in outcome of those two lives. Extraordinary. The one's massive pain and suffering and destruction that he causes, and the other one leaves a legacy of love and kindness, and we're still studying his teachings 2,000 years later. And that's the difference between projection and extension. Very, very different outcomes. So Yeshua knew that he was what he extended. As he extended love, he was extending himself. He was learning through the extension that this is what he is. as he healed and he did all those miracles, it confirmed in his mind that this is true, that his source must be true, must be God. And so by the end of his life, he was in such a high state of mind that he could resurrect. He could bring his mind back into his body. He had that level of awareness, and realized, because he realized there was no death, that this source that was within him was eternal and it could overcome anything, including the death of the body. Yeah, so he's giving us the contrast between the two ways, two modes of extending or projecting, and what's involved in them.
Yeah.
And that one is saying extension is the way to go, basically. Okay, so let's personalize this. I think this is going to have to be their last paragraph, sadly. So we'll just personalize this and then ask you to read it, Elaine.
Yeah.
And the rest I'll have to do tonight. Send it out because duty calls. My son is getting home in 20 minutes. So,
Okay.
Outside the state of pure formless awareness,
The
all
law
that
that
prevails inside is adapted to what you project,
What
you believe.
I project and I believe.
Yeah, that's good. What I project, I believe. Nice one. And it's teaching form.
Because outside the state of is essential. This implies that I
is essential, so that probably needs a comma up here as well. Learning is essential. This form implies that
I will learn what I am. And what I am from, and what I and what I
from
have
what I have projected onto others.
onto others, and therefore believe they are all. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I believe that they are something, that I've projected my own beliefs onto them, and so it's a deception. I believe that that's what they are, but actually it's what I am. So I don't see other people as they are. I see them as I am.
Yeah.
This is the law of projection once you understand it. And it's radically transformative because you no longer think that the problem is outside of you. You can acknowledge that the problem is in your own mind, in your own beliefs, which means you can correct it. It's not outside, it's in your own mind.
Yeah. So in the state of pure formless awareness, there is no teaching or learning because there is no belief. There is only certainty, pure formless awareness of love and its extensions. In the surety of being, know that I am seven, six.
Okay. So need a bit of modification.
And what a pure formless awareness of perfect love and its extensions in the surety of being, know that I am what I extend.
So in the surety of my being, as an, how might we say that? Surety of my being as an extension of perfect love Surety of my being is an extension of perfect love. I know that I am what I extend. Oh, that's much better.
And that form of the law is not
We can take
adapted.
that out. Just take that out. It's not that relevant.
Pure formless awareness of perfect love extends the law by extending by it. And its extensions who extend like it follow it gladly, knowing that the extension of the state of pure formless awareness depends on it, just as their own extensions did.
And I, as its extension, who extend like it, follow it gladly, knowing that the extension of the state of pure formless awareness depends on it, just as my own extension did, or just as my own extension does. Change that to does as well. Okay, so if you read it from the top, just make sure we're good with it.
Yep. Outside the state of pure formless awareness, the law that prevails inside is adapted to what I project, I believe. This is its teaching form because outside the state of pure formless awareness, learning is essential. This form implies that I will learn what I am from what I have projected onto others and therefore believe they are. In a state of pure formless awareness, there is no teaching or learning because there is no belief. There is only certainty. In the surety of my being, as an extension of perfect love, I know that I am what I extend. Pure formless awareness of perfect love extends the law by extending by it. And I and its extensions who extend like it follow it.
As its extension, yeah? It's as its extension.
Oh, as its extension, who extend like it, follow it gladly, knowing that the extension of the state of pure formless awareness depends on it, just as my own extension does.
Okay, so happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's record your okay, so that's it. All right, so just take a nice deep breath in. Connect with your breath, breathing in, breathing out. Just allow these words of Elaine to permeate into your mind, just dropping in, and repeat the words she says after she said them in the gaps to yourself to really affirm these truths. Okay, so take it away, Elaine.
Outside the state of pure formless awareness, the law that prevails inside is adapted to what I project, I believe. This is its teaching form because outside the state of pure formless awareness, learning is essential. This form implies that I will learn what I am from what I have projected onto others, and therefore believe they are. In the state of pure formless awareness, there is no teaching or learning because there is no belief. There is only certainty. In the surety of my being, as an extension of perfect love, I know that I am what I extend. Pure formless awareness of perfect love extends the law by extending by it. And I, as its extension, who extend like it, follow it gladly, knowing that the extension of the state of pure formless awareness depends on it, just as my own extension does.
And so it is. Okay. So we've only done 3 paragraphs, but they were good paragraphs. I will actually not too much to go. They're quite short paragraphs. There's 5, 6. There's 7. I will try and 7 quite long. I will try and oh, actually no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah, they're not too bad. I'll try and send this out later. I've got, as I said, some family things to do, family obligations. But I'll try and send it tonight, latest tomorrow morning. So you'll have the translation to read.
Right.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Elaine, John, for joining and reading and stuff. And I'll see you tomorrow. I've got a 12:30 again tomorrow.
Okay.
So again, I've got 3 hours. So we'll crack on with see what we have tomorrow. Let's just take a little peek ahead, shall we? Where are we? Error in the ego.
The reality of the kingdom.
It's the reality of the kingdom. Yeah. How many paragraphs is it?
The reality of the kingdom has got 5. And number 2 is some of them are big ones.
5. Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah. A couple of big ones. Yeah, we should be able to get that done. Hopefully. So yeah. We'll reconvene then. In the meantime, read the summary that I'm going to send you this evening. You can do that as your practice this evening, and listen to the breath break, one of the breath breaks, a couple more times to practice the lesson.
Great.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you. Very helpful.
All right.
Thanks, Elaine. Thanks, John.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.
Bye.
Bye.